This lesson is where minor pentatonic becomes the sound that we all love and know. The minor pentatonic by itself is very simple, but what makes it stylistic, what makes it gritty, emotional, and recognizably blues and rock, I would argue is the usage of expression techniques. Individually, yes, and in combinations, yes. It's all in the way we attack and approach the notes. In this lesson, I'll walk you through some of the moves you'll hear in my demo over the backing track that I'll provide. One of the first bend I'll introduce, I'll call it boomer bends. A boomer bend is just a fun way to name that twangy, old school sound from boomer generation. This is the type of bend that is traditional to the sound of blues and classic rock. In minor pentatonic, some of the go-to bends are the flat 3 going up to the 4, or the 4 going up to the 5, or the flat 7 going up to the root. So let me demonstrate those here. I'll demonstrate this on the B string using C minor pentatonic. The flat 3 of a C minor is E flat. Okay, here's the 4th interval going up to the 5th. And flat 7 going up to the root. When you practice bends, don't forget practice clean intonation first. And if you want the extra challenge, see if you could add vibrato at the top of the bend. The second type of bend, I'll call this micro bends. I consider any bends that are below half steps micro bends. And this is the type of bend that gives you the attitude and the human voice quality. Micro bends allow you to hit those microtonal pitches that add character to your playing. Practically, you could apply this on any note, but just to give you some example, if I have a note that's on the G string 10th fret, going off to the 8th fret, instead of just going plainly, I could add some character by doing a little bend. And I could even maybe do some bends in between the notes too. It's kind of a fun way to add more character to your phrasing. You'll see many blues players and singers exercise micro bends in their phrasings. So next time you listen to players, pay close attention to how they bend their notes. The third techniques I'll mention are slides. Here I'll kind of categorize into 3 different ones. First one is approach slide, second one is escape slide, and then the last one is a long slide across the neck. Let's start with the approach slide. One of the phrases I use in my demo track is I choose a note, in this case a root, but instead of just playing that plainly, I'll go ahead and slide into that note and add some vibrato there. So notice it just gives you more movement and more dramatic effect to it. And then coming out of that note, I find my other ending point of the phrase, and instead of just playing that plainly and finishing there, which totally fine, you could often finish with I slide up to the next degree of the scale, and that just gives you more stylistic approach to ending your phrase. I use that all the time. So here's kind of together. Okay, the next slide is long slides that I move across from the neck. And this would be a great way to connect to different positions on the fretboard. So another move I do coming out of that last part, I'm gonna slide down to the 5th fret, which is the note G, and that's in order to set up my next phrase going forward. So I'll play one more time. Notice it sounds a little bit more connected when I do that slide instead of just leaping towards the different position of the neck. So try to use those 3 types of slides to make your phrasing sound a bit more smooth. The next set of techniques I want to discuss is double stops. These are a great way to give your notes thick, punchy attitude. The idea behind double stops is that you simply play 2 notes together. If I have the scale, vertical scale of a G shape, I could pretty much double up on each of the notes. And it just has that different harmonic sound to it. So they're a really cool way to sound, just slightly different from your single note playing. Now some of the variations I use are, you could slide with double stop. So again, anytime you slide, it adds a more vocal-like quality to them. You could also do a pull off. Or you could kind of make some kind of percussive funk riff out of them. So if I have the double stop G and B string here, so much of it is in the experimentation, so try it out for yourself. One more variation I'll mention is in the line of players like Jimi Hendrix, John Mayer, or John Frusciante. A lot of those players use their thumb, and usually you could cover the bass note of whatever the chord that you're playing. So if I'm playing like over a C here, and oftentimes you hear them use double stop to add a little bit more rhythm to their playing or movement to whatever they're embellishing. So just to give you some example. So try that out for yourself. Rake is another way to embellish your playing, and it can add aggressiveness to your notes. To give you an example, if I have the note here, 11th fret B string, the note B flat, instead of playing plainly, I could rake into them. Notice it makes it a little bit more dramatic. Basically, the idea is I am muting all the strings going towards the B string, and I'm just kind of sweeping into them. And don't be afraid to kind of lean into the strings with a light force. And when you get to the target note, you're just ringing out that note as you would normally. So a couple of things I do in a general sense. I normally use my left hand. You can see my first finger and middle finger kind of covering. It looks like I'm barring, but I'm just muting the upper string set there. Another thing I do with my right hand, I use the side of my thumb to kind of cut up all the strings or mute all the strings there. So that would be an example of a downstroke rake. You could also perform an upstroke rake. In that case, I use the same thing with the left hand. So let me choose a target note that goes D string, 10th fret. Here you can see the first 2 fingers are muting the bottom strings, and kind of slant my pick, lean against the string to add more aggressiveness to them. So try that out for yourself. The last set of technique I want to mention is call-in response. This is more of a storytelling element instead of a physical technique. And if I had to highlight one main takeaway from especially blues, is this art of call-in response. When you listen to blues, you will notice phrasings that are framed into conversation form. Oftentimes you'll hear singers trade off lines with the lead instrument. It could be a guitar, piano, horn player, and etc. So from my demo track, you'll notice I have a phrase that kind of adds on top of each other. One of the starting phrase. And I leave space. And then the next time I come around, I'm going to start off with the same similar idea. But just add a little bit more. Then again, leave space, and then I'll just come back to phrase 1. But throw slight variations with it. And then I'm going to go back to phrase 2. And then the part that follows after that, you could call this phrase 3. The last phrase gives it a conclusions to that whole segment. Think about the structures of your phrasing. I like to think there's a phrase and a space. A phrase, space, phrase, space. So when you get to play along with the backing track, let your lines have conversation. This is central to phrasing. Take your minor pentatonic scale and see if you can apply the techniques I have mentioned in this lesson. The focus is to embellish your notes rather than just plainly play them. In other words, the focus is how and not what. Approach the notes as if you're adding life to them. In the next lesson, you'll move directly into your creative solo project using the backing track I have provided. That will be your opportunity to exercise expression, phrasing, technique, and musical storytelling.